I'm just going to kick it off then, since it is a little after 4 right now. And again, sorry for the technical glitches on this one. This is our second time doing this. Thank you all for attending. Right now we have 130 people on, and so we promise to have this go for an hour. And then after an hour, we'll let you guys go back to your normal lives. But we'll also stay online for another half hour, I would say, to answer questions. Let me just give a couple of introductions until we can get Lori's video turned on in the background there. I'm joined by Lori Plummer, our corporate manager. She's there with a pretty picture just in my screen below me.
And I'm waving. I'm waving at y'all.
Awesome. Lori, perhaps, so first of all, let me talk about the goals of this chat. So it was about a year ago when I was talking to some people, and when Lori and I were in Maine for the national rally, we decided, hey, wouldn't it be great to just do some informal get-togethers? We know there's a lot of questions about what's going on in the club. We really want to hear from you. Ideally, we'd be sitting across from a physical campfire, but that's not going to happen. I'm in Colorado, Lori's in Ohio, and y'all all over the U.S. and maybe Europe and Canada as well. But we think it's really important. And so the format for this one, like the last one we did, will be that we'll kick it off with a few, probably 10 minutes of just updates of what's happening. And some of this is based on questions that have been submitted ahead of time. And then we're going to open to questions. And so we already have about 5 or 6 questions going on there. And you won't be able to go on video. We felt with this many people on video, it might be a little bit cumbersome to have a bunch of faces popping in and out. So we're going to do our best we can. And Lori and I promised that we would answer every question that we can. We're not going to dodge anything. We're going to give you our best answers. So hopefully it'll be a fun hour. Lori, perhaps you could start off by just talking about Christy and your team there in headquarters.
Sure. Thanks, Eric. So, hello, everybody. I know you can't see me right now, but we are working through that. So Christy Yon is also on the line with us, actually helping with the technical and us today, and she is our marketing communications manager at headquarters. Christy's been with us a year and a half, maybe a little more than that. I'm sorry, I'm not good with dates. So Christy does a lot on helping us, what you see on social media, what we do in advertising, the emails that come out. She helps manage all of that. And as that happens, she also it helps us with event planning because she has a lot of history at that as well. So Christy is online with us today. And so
Wait, things are happening. We have 2 out of 3 photos. We're getting there.
Yeah.
Lori, thank you for that quick introduction. I'm Christy, everybody. And Lori, real quick, you are a panelist, so I'll try to co-host you. So I'm not sure panelists' pictures should be able to be seen, so we'll keep on plugging away. Nice to see everybody.
So we also, along with Christy, we also have 4 other staff members at the office. We have Barb Langston, and Barb does quite a few things at the office, as in she helps coordinate rallies, she helps coordinate caravans. She also does a lot of administrative work for us, as well as we also have Amanda Hughes, which is our membership coordinator. Amanda processes all of the joins, the renewals, answers questions, help officers with audit lists, et cetera, et cetera. And then also we have Amber Regula, which is Jackson Center native, and actually her father worked for Airstream for several years. I shouldn't say several, over 40 years. So she's very familiar with the Airstream lifestyle, and she's there helping Amanda process all of our joins and renewals and membership needs. And then our final and newest member is Corey Maxwell. He is our new Blue Beret editor. And Corey has replaced Deb, which Deb Saylor, most of you know, left us a couple weeks ago after 12, almost 13 years with the club. She decided to retire. She was incentivized by all of our members, and she wants to get out and travel. So she left us, and now Corey's part of that team.
Awesome. Thanks, Lori. Just a quick question. How are we doing, Christy, getting Lori on screen?
Same status.
All right, well, keep us posted. All right, the other thing I want to share with you that, we're going to be restarting the membership seminars. Lori mentioned Amanda Hughes. And one thing we did last year, twice, I think, maybe 3 or 4 times, was Amanda put on some seminars for the local club people to understand what's happening in the membership process. We're getting a ton of new members, as I'm going to talk about shortly. And, it's just challenging for all the local clubs, et cetera, to be able to get those members into the club. So I was going to share some graphs, but that's not working right now. I want to talk to you about one of the things that both excites me, and I'll be talking about this in the upcoming President's Corner, the next Blue Beret, but also makes all of us, and this is the whole International Board of Trustees, the local club presidents, the region presidents, a bit nervous. And that's that we're having an unprecedented amount of growth in our club. And again, you've heard some of this before from Lori, and I can't show the data right now, but it looks like a hockey stick, and maybe we'll come back to it later. But one of the interesting things in the data that we just shared is that we looked at our 19,000 members we have worldwide. And on average, the average length of time they've been club members is 7 years. 7 years, I mean, that's incredibly low. But when you look at the distribution of that, it's because we've had a tremendous number of members join in the last 2 years. Now, you guys, I'm sure everyone on this webinar has seen this at their local club events. They're getting bigger, they're hard to find spots. There's a whole bunch of new people coming in that, you haven't met before. There's new people on your roster you probably never seen before. And when our new members come to the rally, they're excited, but they also have a lot of questions about the club and their trailers. So this is perfect. This is exactly what we want, but we're trying to manage this growth. And in fact, the data set that we have shows that 25% of our members have been in the club for 1 year or less. Again, give that some thought. 25% of our members have been in the club for a year or less, right? And we have mid 80% renewal rate. So it's not as if we're losing a lot of our legacy members like me. It's just that our growth is phenomenal. And so one of the things that Lori and me and the Board of Trustees is working on is how do we provide some more tools and training and activities for people new to Airstreaming and new to the club. So I want Lori to talk a little bit about what we do to welcome new people into the club. A lot of us like me joined 14, 15 years ago. We've kind of forgotten that process. And Laura, perhaps you could talk a little bit about what you guys are doing to make that a more welcoming and pleasant introduction to our club.
Sure. Thanks, Eric. So we've kind of changed the process over the last probably 2.5, 3 years, just a little bit. So I'd say 95% of our members join online. And then when they join online, they choose their, if they want to choose a local club, they'll choose their local home club on their own. And then once we receive that information, of course, big red numbers are a huge thing within our club. So they have an option of asking for a few numbers. If those are available, of course, we'll issue the available numbers to them. If not, then the team will work with these new members to get the number that they want, because that's so important to so many people. And then once we get them in the system, which normally our goal is within 2 to 3 days at max, is to turn around and get their, what we call their new member packet out to them. It's a beautiful folder. And within that folder, it has their name badges. It has their big red numbers, instructions on the big red numbers. It also has the latest Blue Beret in it. And so then that is shipped out by priority mail, and they should have it within, we normally say 5 to 7 business days, because of course we can't, we don't know what's going on outside the office. So that is our current goal. Our current process is what we're doing. And then we're going to start beefing that up even a little bit more with more communications to our newer members, just to help explain the club, right? To find, how do they get to a caravan? How do they join a rally? How can they use courtesy parking? All of those benefits that we know as people being in the club for quite some time, we're going to get better at educating our new folks and letting them know how to utilize those parts of our club.
Lori, Scott Graham had a follow-up question. You could probably read in the chat there about new members and sort of how do we help engage with the Airstreaming to get the names and addresses of our new owners. Perhaps you can talk about that process and what's happened with that.
Well, we used to actually years ago, we used to be able to have all of it. We had their phone numbers, their emails, and things of that nature. And unfortunately, that program had to end. And that was because of violations of privacy laws that we were not able, they're no longer, they were no longer able to give us that information. So that stuff had stopped, but we are still currently working with Airstream Inc. and some of the dealers to figure out how we can start engaging new Airstream owners that are not necessarily club members, get them exposed to the club. So we are still working on that project.
Okay, thanks, Lori. I'm going to share a graph now because I'm an engineer. I totally love sharing graphs. It makes me happy. So this is the one I touched on. Oh, yes, there we go. This shows in the average years in the club by region. These are our geographic regions, region 00, which is members at large, through region 12 out here in California, Nevada. And so you can see there's no pattern really at all. The average is around 6.5, maybe 7 years. The other thing that I wanted to share with you is the current list, the percentage of years in club. And this is what I was talking about, where if you look at the graph on the left, so the lower axis is 1 year, 2 year, horizontal axis, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, et cetera, out to 20 years. We have members that have been in the club longer than 20 years, but for the purposes of the graph, I kept it a little bit shorter. So again, a lot of people have been in the club 0 to 1 years, 1 to 2 years, and this is probably more than a third of our club members have only been in for less than 2 years. And the last thing, kind of another way of looking at this data, is what I call the hockey stick. Now, when I worked in the private sector, we always talked about our sales forecasts looking a bit like this, but they never really did. For our club, we can see, again, we're seeing a tremendous number of people joining in the last couple of years. And what some of the region presidents and local club presidents have told me is that, we haven't seen a lot of these people. They may have been locked in during COVID. They may have not been able to get out to a rally or traveling, but this is something that's going to be really interesting for us, and we're going to be working with in the last year. The last one I'll share is one that Lori developed, and perhaps you can talk, Lori, about our aggregate, our total membership. This is like total members in the club, memberships in the club.
Yeah, so as Eric says, as you can see at the bottom graph, it shows the years and then the actual total memberships. So when I say memberships, like as of today, we have 9,296 memberships, which could be either 1 or 2 people. So I believe last I looked, we're right close to 18,000 members within the club. And we have been in, as you can see by this graph, we have been on a steady growth since about 2015, well, 2014, 2015. And then we spiked up right during COVID, and then we're kind of, I think we're going to continue the way we are. I feel confident. So I want to say we're leveling off, but it is a bunch of new people that are finding us.
So thanks, Lori. So Craig asked this question, how are we going to retain these members? It's a huge question for us, right? And so I think about the people you've met, that have come to joined our club and come to rallies. What causes them to renew again? And I think we all can answer that probably the same way. And that's that if they come to a club event, if they meet some enjoyable people and they have a great time, then they're going to keep coming back. If they don't do some of those things, they're not. And so that's what we're trying to focus on, is that how, number one, do we do a better job of connecting all these new members coming in? And our membership coordinator, Cody Klingler, is working on that with the task force, working with Lori and her team as well, to come up, and all the region presidents, to come up with a way to how do we get these new members safely, nicely, politely invited into local event. Because one of these things I think that, Laverne and I, my wife Laverne and I have told us a zillion times that, our first rally, even before we joined the club, we had someone come up to us and said, hey, why don't you guys come to this? I think you'd have a good time, and I'll meet you there, or I'll wait up for you for dinner, or we can share dinner together. And those are the sorts of things I think, Scott, Craig, and others, that keep people as members. But I would ask you to ask yourselves that questions as well. But what do you think it is that keeps people engaged and staying at our club? It's not the benefits, it's not the discount packages that we offer. It's really about the Airstream lifestyle. So on that note, I want to shift to one of the things that we have some misconceptions about, and that's Airstream Inc., which is the maker of our trailers, our vans, and touring coaches is a formal word. Touring coaches and trailers. Airstream Inc. has some very simple goals. I mean, they're around quality, they're around a lot of things, but they also really want people who buy Airstreams to fall in love with their Airstreams. And even while these are lovely vehicles, Airstream Inc. understands that a large part of owning an Airstream is the Airstream lifestyle. And there isn't another club out there like us that can consistently, on a geographic basis, provide that lifestyle for Airstreaming. And so we think that that's how we want to work with Airstream. And so Airstream Inc. is a separate company. We get a lot of questions, which we wish we can answer, but we can't, about, hey, when's the new eStream going to be shipped? What's the strategy on base camps? How come we're having a hard time getting spare parts or mattresses or whatever? We unfortunately can't answer those questions. We do get them to Airstream. We send them to Airstream. Members of yourselves, you can send them to Airstream as well. We understand the confusion because Airstream is part of our name. We are a strong partner with Airstream. As I've shared a number of times, and Lori has, we're trying to really strengthen that partnership. I want to ask Lori in a couple of seconds to talk about sort of our partnership with Airstream on the historical side. It was actually really interesting there, and also that led into a really neat co-event with Airstream about a year ago to open their Heritage Center. So Lori, want to talk a little bit about that? You could.
Sure. Yeah, and then there's a couple of membership questions I can't wait to answer. I see on the chat, and I see a lot of rally questions too, but we'll get to the rally here in a few minutes. So I've been with the club since 2014, and I have always had a phenomenal, I feel, relationship with both Justin Humphreys, Bob Wheeler, and all of the staff, everybody at Airstream Inc. And they have always, they have been financially supportive of us, as well as always, it's an unspoken advocacy for us. They do. They know. Justin has always said or mentioned to me that this club has more experience, more knowledge about Airstream than probably most people actually at Airstream. And he always tells me I got to figure out a way to how to bottle that up and market that out. So I feel with our growth, with their growth, that we're just going to continue to build a great mutual respectful relationship. And as Eric said, that when they went to open the Heritage Center, and if you guys have not been to the Heritage Center, I encourage everybody to get there because there is a lot in there with the club and reference to the club. But they wanted us to be part of that event, and it was great that we were able to organize that for that. And since it was so successful, we're hoping that we can do that, do other events like that with them in the future, whether it be right there in Jackson Center or someplace else. But that's definitely a positive.
Okay, the last thing about Airstream Inc., and this ties in a couple of the questions about other things. And I think Jenny asked that question, and Regina asked that question as well. So one of the things that we know for a fact that our members love in general, whether they're long-term or short-term, is having Airstream representation, be it at the dealer or from the factory at an event. Because those are the things where they help us with our towables and our touring coaches about sort of why does the fridge doesn't go on and what's with my Airstream Connect and here's how you hook up. And we call these newbie rallies sometimes. And one of the things that Airstream Inc. wants to do with us even more are more of these newbie rallies. I've gone to a couple, you guys probably have as well. They're very, very enjoyable. And that's one of the other good benefits of working closely with Airstream Inc. How about we flip just to get a couple of off the table about the International Rally, because and as Lori talks about it, it's not just the numbers that are going to Rock Springs. It's the energy around Rock Springs. I'm hoping Lori can talk a little about why we think that is the case.
Yeah, so I see a few of the questions there. Yes, we are officially sold out right at this second. We do have a wait list waiting for us that's 50 deep within, and actually that's only been within the last since Friday that has happened. So I think the excitement around Rock Springs is number one. We with our restructuring, we started letting everybody know what's going on earlier in the scheme of things. We got a schedule out earlier, and Christy is part of that planning team. So we are constantly adding things, and we're working the rally much earlier than we have in the past to give people ideas of what's going to be happening. We're excited to say that the rallies from Rock Springs on is 100% member focused. We're fortunate that we made some changes, so we're not going to be burning up space and time having to host meetings, structured meetings, and that nature. So we're going to be able to fill those spots with more seminars and more fun-filled things at the rally. So for everybody who's on standby, or I expect that to grow a little bit, but you folks can still come in on day passes. They can buy a week's pass. They just can't camp there yet, but we are working on some boondocking options that we're going to be releasing right after the first of the year. We've got a nice piece of dirt that we're going to be able to offer up to some members to get as many folks into that location as we can. So we're super excited about the progress we've made in Rock Springs so far.
Thanks, Lori. Another one of the questions that came up a while ago on social media, and I really want to tackle this one also. It's about, as we've stated, we're going to try to move some of the future rallies out of the hot months. You know, if any of y'all have been to something in the South in June, July, August, it can be challenging. And one of the number one or number two feedback from those three rallies has been, oh my gosh, it was so hot. We had a great time, but can we do it some other time of the year? And so one of the questions has come up is that, you know, by doing it in the shoulder seasons, the spring or the fall, are we precluding a lot of our members who have kids? And I thought that Lori has the data, I think, that suggests that this is actually not what's driving a lack of kids. So Lori, do you have the data for the number of young adults that have come to the last few rallies?
I can tell you it's been probably between 30 to 35 is what's been the norm lately. And that's been consistent. Actually, probably last 2 years prior to that, it's been less than 30. So that's kind of been the average.
This is out of close to 2,000 attendees. And so the data does not support summer months or being more attractive to families. Now we are trying to work on getting more families there. You know, we just started a new effort on the family and youth. Corey Barger's leading that one. And we have a new intra club called Future Streamers. Misty Roach is leading that. And the goal of those two is to try to get some more events on the calendars for kids. You'll notice actually on Rock Springs, we actually already have some things up there already. But that's the thing about the kids.
Can I jump in, Eric, on the rally? So I just want to encourage everybody, when y'all see surveys come from us, I know we get inundated with surveys. We all do, right? And it's always at the wrong time when you're trying to jump on the web and do something. But please answer our surveys, because we read them, we go over them, every line, and that is what is dictating what we schedule at the rallies or do for the club. So this is membership, and that we need to hear from our membership. So that's my little soapbox saying that if you see one of our surveys, please fill it out. So we can do what y'all want us to do.
So maybe talk about the survey, and then also Mary had a question about sort of the degree of active or non-active in various clubs. So
so jumping back to some membership, I saw Johnny Hansen mention something about explain to people how to do the big red numbers. There is a flyer within the new member packet that explains exactly how they should go on, and there's examples also of how they can be displayed. And then I saw Mary Shore had made a comment that she had gone to looks like a rally, and they weren't very active. So Mary, I don't know where you are in the country. Well, I'm sure I can figure it out, but right now I don't know where you are. But one thing we always want to tell our newer members is that traditionally people choose a home club geographically just because it makes sense, right? Especially if you're still working or you don't have want to travel too far away from home. And so geographically people choose places. And so I'm going to encourage Mary to look around your other groups. We do have groups that all they want to do is eat. I have no problem with that, but they like to just cook and stay in one place. And whereas we have other groups that they are extremely active. Most of their rallies are consisting of canoeing, or kayaking. They do hikes, bike riding. Actually, I just one of our clubs is getting ready to do a mountain bike clinic right within their rally because their group is so active. So that's another benefit. Also, if you want to, I don't know how much. Well, we'll talk about affiliates. So you can affiliate yourself with other clubs, and once you do that, normally you're on their communication list, whether it's by newsletter, if they have a Facebook group, and they also help share what kind of activities they have. So Mary, don't give up. There's more out there. Again, just look around where you are to find more of that nature, those kind of groups.
Thanks. So Edward had a question new to the club also, and he's describing the challenge of the confusion just going through joining the club and determining what local club to pick versus a member large versus affiliate intra-clubs. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that also, then we'll see where we are in membership questions.
Yeah, so the difference is when you join, of course, I hope everybody's been to our website and they can see that we do have all the local clubs. So it's just a personal preference. Some people are, as I said, will join a local club because it geographically makes sense to them. And if you can't choose, again, we like to encourage members to join as a member at large. That kind of is that shopping tool. So you can go visit other rallies, talk to other people, and learn about each club before you make it somewhat of a commitment or join that club. But again, as I mentioned to Mary, also that if you join a club and you just feel like it's not the right fit, you are allowed to change home clubs. You can transfer them out. So there's also other ways to learn about just activities and people. As a member of WBCCI Airstream Club Inc., you can go to any event. So whether it's regional, intra-club, and that is where you're going to find your people. Just get to one of our events and then you'll learn more about the local clubs on what you want to do with who. That's basically what it comes down to.
I want to do a couple more. I see a comment from Nikki and then my buddy Mitch Rice. Mitch and I go back years and years. I could probably throw a rock and hit his house, but I don't think I should do that. It's a little bit further away. But the question is about again, it's more on active events. We have a lot of that are just social, but I'm very interested in the outdoors. And I'm not going to try to throw it back on the attendees, but some of this is, when we started in Greater Bay Area, we didn't have a lot of active rallies. My wife Laverne and I, though, we would say, "Hey, you guys mind if we structure a bike ride during lunchtime?" And the rally host would say, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." I lead nighttime hikes with red flashlights up mountains and stuff. And we do mountain biking and hiking things, and some of these things you can do within a rally. But it can be daunting, I think, if you haven't been in the club so long. So like Lori said, look around at the events. You can kind of tell from their website sometimes. You can kind of tell from how they describe their event which ones are going to be fun. It's like over in Region 6 right now, there's a rally. I think it's happening now. No, not yet. A can opener. It's one of our favorite rallies. It's down in the Florida Panhandle. It's an absolute blast. You're going to talk about people who have a great time. Those folks down there have a really good time. So there are activities, but it can be challenging to find. But I do guarantee you they're there. As we plan international rallies, they are going to be more active as well. We have a number of events for Rock Springs and other events that we're looking at to provide that active outdoor experience.
Yeah, so I see Nikki made that. It's funny that you said something about Region 6. I saw Nikki on here mentioned something about Region 6. So absolutely. Again, each club has their own personality. And that, I don't want to say that's to me, that's what makes the club great. And it's so unique that once you can find your people, they're hooked. And that's what we see from HQ. So there's just so many different varieties out there. And there are those, I don't say crazy groups, but there are those wild groups in Region 6. So Nikki, we can help you find those too as well.
Let me pause here for a second. You can see Lori and I keep looking at the chat. Chrissy, have we missed any major themes?
Carrying on a little bit with the club conversation, I wondered, and this ties back into our membership standing committee as well, but if you guys could talk about a couple things related to all of our different clubs. One question was like, can we, and I think that question goes further into should we, have some, across the board similarities between our
Okay.
clubs, versus, like Lori just said, they all have different flavors. And then another question came through, just some feedback, but I think you can touch on some work in progress. This question is really confirming that our membership standing committee is heading in the right direction. But if you could talk about the experience new members might have for picking a club, where do you go on the website and you don't know. So
Okay.
where could this information be more explained?
Okay, let me start off first. I see my geocaching partner, Barb Darian, there ask a question about consistent experience across clubs and regions. I'm from a corporate background, and while I love consistency, it isn't really what our club is generally about. I can look here in California, Region 12, and across the country, and every club is a little bit different. I mean, it's why Laverne and I are driving to Arkansas in about 2 weeks to hang out with the club down there, because they're different than, well, they're different, but they're different than a lot of the other clubs also. So I think there's a benefit in having that difference. The challenge, I think, Barb, is that how do we make sure, just from a baseline standpoint, that the experience is good? And I think Matt mentioned on this from Grapes and Grain, we want to make sure that all of our local clubs offer online registration and payment for events. 5 years ago, that was not the case. 10 years ago, no one did. And so I think there are some basic things that we can help our members and our clubs do to have a little more streamlined experience. Let me hand it to you, Lori, because I'm not sure I answered that question fully.
I think you did a great job, Eric, of answering that question, because it's the truth. And yeah, I understand about similarities. And we don't want to take the uniqueness out of our local clubs or our regions or our inter clubs. That's what makes them special. But we absolutely are trying to help all of them work on just some general things. So like if you're traveling across the country and you see something that you want to be involved in, we want to make sure that you're able to get signed up for that rally when you're on the road, and hopefully it's on, we can do it online, but we are working with everybody to try to get those things together, educate the webmasters and educate the officers of how things can happen electronically to help service all of our members.
I'll take a couple questions again from Scott and from Mitch again about international rallies. So one of the challenges that we're seeing is that the growth, right? I know we've sold out before international rallies, but 1,200 rigs is quite a bit more than probably the last 7 or 8 years or so. And to sell out 6 months ahead of time, it really suggests that we need to do more. So one of the reasons why our club launched a renewed effort at national event rallies is to have some other more regional events. I almost call them like mini international rallies, but they're not that our members can go to. So national event rallies, they are things like the Balloon Fiesta. Canoper is happening right now. Rose Parade Rally, a whole bunch of other ones. And so those are the ones that we're trying to add more to. I think we have 12 or 13 right now across our club, and they happen across the U.S. different times of the year. And if we can grow more of those will provide more opportunities for people to go to these larger events that have a certain level of just their national levels. And Mitch's follow-up question was, what % of our members are retired? I think it's probably reasonably high. Mitch, I can't give you a number, but I do know that for working members, like I was up until a year ago, it's really hard to take away two weeks or 3 weeks to drive someplace to go to a national rally. And that's one of the reasons why national event rallies, which are probably a week, that could be 5 days or 4 days, or some more options. And so if we can create a whole bunch more of those, in addition to the region rallies and the club rallies, that'll hopefully provide more opportunities for people that can't take off as much time as I theoretically can at this point.
Hey, I'm going to jump in there, Eric. I see some more questions popping up about newbie rallies. You'd mentioned that. Where would they be listed? Lindy, I see your question. And when we get those organized, they're going to be listed on our website under events. Typically, they are sponsored by us, local clubs, but Airstream Inc. or an Airstream dealer will support us, as in just not funding, but they will also help with text. They will send out material, whatever that is. So we do work in conjunction with the dealers. Kat had asked if there's going to be some boondocking options in Rock Springs. Yes, we are working on figuring that out. As I mentioned a little bit ago, we got a beautiful piece of dirt that we're going to figure out how we can get people in there. And yes, it will be at a lower price than the hookup current price it is.
So one of the things that we're looking to get out of some survey information is to help us understand at international rallies what people want to do. Some of the other clubs like Family Motor Coach Association, Escapees, their rallies are typically 5 days long, Lori? And I know that
they're shorter.
FMCA has these big, huge Class A's with 50-gallon, 60-gallon, tanks. And so we were talking to a facility the other day that said, oh yeah, FMCA comes here and they just boondock. But the reality is they do it for 5 days or 4 days, and they have these huge tanks. Our Airstreams, of course, for most people, after around 3 days, that they need some help with their gray water at a minimum. And so, for us, it's a little more challenging for the boondocking, but we're trying to understand what people want when they say they want a boondock. Is it to get a reduced price? Is it to just experience not being connected? Is it to be in a more spacious area away from other trailers or prettier areas? So if y'all can help us understand that can help us plan out what we do for upcoming years, because it's getting really, really hard to find some of these sites that have enough hookups. By the way, the vast majority of the people that come to national rallies, even me who loves to boondock, we like the hookups just because we're living in our trailer for a week and a half, and it's just convenient to have everything there while we run out and socialize and come back and wash dishes and eat and drink and whatever, and change clothes and sweat. So it's nice to have something with full amenities. Now, sure, there's showers there on the facilities, but I think a lot of people prefer to shower in their trailer if possible. There's a question from Brian about big red numbers. And I'll come back to you, Lori. Sorry. Brian asked, newbies do not understand the purpose of the big red numbers. So I'm going to flail on this one a little bit, but it's historic. It's historic. If you look about in the old days when there were 2,000-3,000 trailers at an event or going on international caravan, like Wally Bynum used to do, they numbered their rigs, and that's how they identified who they were. For example, if I see a rig on there with a certain number, that's so-and-so. And it's just kind of nice to have. They're not mandatory. It's just whatever you want to do. Laura, do you want to add that to you smiling?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
So, Brian, if you're a history buff, please look back at Around the World Caravan and some of the early caravans that Wally organized. They literally painted the red numbers on the trailer. And they did that to keep track of who was with them, especially if you can imagine when the Around the World Caravan was going on, and they did not have the technology we have today. So that is the origin of the big red numbers. And I do believe some people believe it's like a badge of honor. So big red numbers are a big thing. And again, if you look at the history of it, it's pretty amazing, and it tickles people realize the history behind all of that.
And as Nikki asked this question, you don't have to display your big red numbers. I'd say probably nowadays, probably a quarter of the trailers I see at a rally have their big red numbers on top. It used to be 10 years ago, the majority did. So it's really up to you. And again, Nikki asked about privacy. It is a concern for a lot of our members because we can get access to, even though you have to log in, you get so much credentials and log into a membership book and you find out who they are. And so absolutely, if you don't want to put your big red numbers up, don't put them up. No one's going to care. If you want to have a little plaque, like some people have, a little Lexan or whatever that's called, and you put them on that, you hang them on your window when you feel like it, go do that too. But no, you don't have to. When I first started in the club a long time ago, it was mandatory pretty much to put up flags too. The American flag, the WBCCI flag, your state flag, your blah, blah, blah flags. And people would actually come around and say your flags are in the wrong order. Why aren't your flags up? That level of, well, I'm not sure the right words. That doesn't happen anymore. Is probably a better way of saying it. People go to rallies, have fun. Some people flag up, some may not. You don't have to do it. Do what you want to do. And our club is like that pretty much nowadays. Respect your fellow members, have a great time. But we're not going to tell you, your flags are out of order. Why don't you have a big red number up? That's not our gig anymore.
Exactly. So I'm going to touch on Millie. Actually, I've seen a couple more questions about the rally. Millie, hi Millie. She had to ask how to encourage members to mentor new and first timers at International. So we are working on actually a program to help with that. And we just didn't have first timers come to us and ask for help, but we also had existing members that want to be part of that. So again, we want to make everybody feel welcome, but if you can imagine being a first timer and you roll into a rally and you see 1,000 other trailers, and that's another good reason to have a big red number on your trailer, because that's how people find their own trailer sometimes. I've heard those stories, but absolutely, we're going to continue to work on this onboarding, this welcoming, whatever we want to call it, to make sure new members feel welcome to our club. But we're not going to ask them to be an officer as soon as they walk through the door. So let's not do that. Let's just make them feel welcome, show them the ropes so they can get familiar with the club and enjoy themselves. I also see someone said they submitted a request for a presenter. I believe our deadline is February 2nd, 3rd. Thank you, February 3rd. I got the month right, Christy. You should be proud of me. So February 3rd, Steve. So once those are all processed, then we'll start getting back with folks as well in regards to that.
Hey, Lori, if somebody forgets or loses or needs a new packet, what do? Who do they call or email for a new member welcome packet?
You would need to call HQ and either talk to Amanda or Amber, and they will explain the process of how to get that replaced.
Or if you're digital oriented like me, maybe you can talk about the club store, because I think we can do both of those at the club store, can't we?
Not a replacement packet, no, because that is with the big red numbers, that's a whole nother ballgame. But you can buy all those things a la carte on our store, which would be you can buy badges, flags, you can buy clips, you can buy pins, especially pink flamingo pins. Actually, we were talking about those today. We have some of those there that we want to get moving. So all of that stuff can be accessed through the club store, which is on our drop-down menu on our website. Hopefully we have access to the MX track at Rock Springs. Should we bring our bikes? I would bring your bikes because it's a big campus, regardless if we have access to the track, but maybe that could be fun. Get a bunch of our members out there on that track. But definitely bring your bikes because it is a huge facility. So super excited for that. Because we have the most rallies. Do we know the top 5 clubs who have the most rallies or varieties of rallies? That is a tough question, Michelle and Dawn. My first gut reaction, I believe, is Oregon is one of our probably most active clubs. I believe I was speaking with Terry Warren, that helps organize, and I believe she said they did over 200 rallies last year. I think I saw somebody else from that region or that club on this list, but and again, where they're located, the South does a lot more than the North because we don't like to camp when it's 2 degrees and 5 feet of snow. So but I don't know who else would.
Well, I think you answered it well, and it really is geographic because, again, living from the West Coast, on the West Coast, we rally all year round, and that just isn't possible for a lot of our clubs. It's kind of a hard thing to answer. But what I suggest doing is going on our club website, and then I think this part actually, I believe, most people find relatively easy to navigate. You go to the events, and it shows all the events across the U.S. and Canada. And you can filter by range. So I want to find out an event between January 1st and February 3rd. I'll show you all the events, and you can filter by club, you can filter by state, and any of those events you can go to. And I have too, and my wife and I have. It's a really nice way. Candy asked a question about, she lives in Montana in the summer months and Southern California in the winters. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of activities in both areas. So
And I'll tag on to that with
Oh, you
Kim
can
about
answer the
the,
dog
oh,
question,
what's
right?
the dog question? Because I'm the dog lover in this team,
Yeah,
right?
whatever.
So yes, actually across the RV industry, I believe the last stat I saw was over 70% of RV owners travel with their pets. And majority of those are dogs. Nothing against the cats or the goats or anybody else, but there are a ton of people that travel. Normally, they will leave their dog within their trailer, and there are several devices out there because the main concern is temperature, right? You don't want to leave your pet, and if something goes out where we are and you lose power. So there are several different devices out there. I know I'm encouraging our team. We're trying to get Waggle or one of those type devices to come to our rally, or at least work with us some more to get more of the education out of some safety things you can put in your rig to leave your pet safely while you go and enjoy yourself.
I'm going to share this page on events. Let me just log out so that you don't see my admin login. Okay, so this is really important, and this is one of the things we actually put in place years ago. It was very important for us to make sure people could see what was going on. Okay, so on our page under events, if you just want to click to all rallies and events, it brings up a nice little map. And so this is from December 14th through through whenever. If you say, hey, look, I really care about going to a rally somewhere in February, between the 8th of February and let's say the 19th, show me where they are. And so you can see that there's still a lot in that time frame. And then you can say, well, I'm going to be in California, so let me just look in California. And so here's the ones in California during that time frame. And if you're interested in one, you can click on it, and it says this is the Northern California Grass Valley Rally. It's March 29th to the 2nd. Someone's down in Southern California. So GLAC, Greater Los Angeles Airstream Club, they are a blast also. We don't have any favorites because we're in Region 12 and my wife is Region 12 president, but Greater Los Angeles and some of the people down south are just really fun. They rally all year round. And so for the person asked that question about heading south, pretty much anything you go to down there is good. But this is how you can find something in your area. If you want to look a little bit more about it, you can click on list view, which shows actually the tiles of what's happening. So for example, I'm actually the host of this one, Coyote Lake Rally, in February, and it's at a regional park. Gorgeous place. We're going to do nighttime climbing a mountain with flashlights, which people grumble about until they get about halfway up. Then they realize that it's actually pretty fun. We're doing mountain bike riding. We do kayaking there and just log walking, geocaching. We have a great time doing that. Bird watching. So it's a very outdoor centric. And I think if you look at some of these, you'll get a sense of what they do there. Okay, Christy, I wanted to step back and see if we're missing any themes.
There was a couple questions that spotlighted about volunteers. Teresa McShane said rallies require hosts, which are volunteers. Can you please comment on how this is a rate limiting factor for local clubs and regions?
I'm pointing to you.
It's tied together with, where did that one go? Another about, I think the overriding question is, it takes volunteers, right? This club, okay. How does a rally come together? Like you're telling us about these events, but.
Let me talk about this. And this, again, is one of the things that is challenging for our local clubs. Okay, I want to paint a little bit of history. When Laverne and I joined the club 14, 15 years ago, we'd paid a certain amount of money and we'd show up. And in the morning, there are always women who were behind the counter cooking breakfast for everyone, and then maybe a lunch, and then cooking dinner. The guys would do the barbecue, and it was pretty much a fully catered thing. That has changed in a lot of areas. It's changed to more what I call family camping, or as one of my friends in Colorado calls it, just camping, where a lot of the rallies now are, hey, for example, when I just showed you at Coyote Lake, here's the dates. It's at a region park, so we can't make the reservation for you. You're adults. You go on and make the reservation. Here's the area we're going to be in. And we'll probably have one thing together as a team, but we'll have a bunch of activities. And so those are a little bit lighter rallies because they're easier for a host to put on. But there still needs to be someone in that local club that comes up with a calendar of events, where they're going to be, looks for sort of geographic distribution, picks some fun places, is aware of what their members want to do. In our club, in a lot of clubs, it's the second vice president in a local club that has a responsibility for picking the rally sites for the next year. In Oregon, as Lori said, that club is huge, and they actually have a team, a rally planning team. So there's someone in your local club or some subset local club that plans these events. They can be lightly planned events, or they can be heavily organized events. It just kind of depends on what you all want to, and hopefully there's a bit of a distribution. So I want to touch on boondocking. Our trailers, I keep moving around and blurring. Our trailers and our touring coaches work really well boondocking, especially now that more are coming from the factory and or solar and lithium is coming down in price. A lot more of us have the ability to comfortably boondock or stay at a state park, dry camping for 3 or 4 days. And so we're starting to see more local clubs look to do that. Because frankly, when you look at an Airstream advertisement, what you don't see is a bunch of Airstreams in a concrete parking lot. You see them next to a river or a lake or a stream or up in the mountains. And so we know that's what a lot of our members want to do sometimes. And now we have the capabilities. And the funny thing about that story is that the first time that we proposed to do a boondocking event in where we live out here, a lot of our leaders at the time said, no one wants to do that. And then it was really interesting. One of our friends, she stood up in the back. She was older, and had been in the club for years. She says, wait a minute, you guys. When I started in the club 40 years ago, all we did was boondock. We took our trailers out to a field. We circled around in a field, and we just had a great time. You guys are a bunch of wussies. And that actually sparked this Coyote Lake rally, which is now one of the more popular rallies in our club. So some of it comes down to having those discussions in your club and saying, look, we want to do boondocking. Now, my buddy Mitch wants to go boondocking. We're talking about going up in the Sierras and going off of one of the passes up there and doing some boondocking. And I think that more of our club want to go to wineries, as one of you all mentioned. People want to go to vineyards, kind of the same thing, but not quite, distilleries, and just camp there. And that's actually becoming more and more popular. Harvest Host and Boondockers Welcome are starting to get very popular now, because a lot of people, they want to go to some places and it's crowded. So kind of a long way of saying you can make it what you want to do, but just talk to your club organizer. Say, look, I'd like to put on a boondocking gig. I don't want to have it a big deal. I just want people to show up, and we'll have a menu or two, and we'll have a fun time. Okay, let's see.
Wait, speaking of boondocking, Eric, I see a couple questions about boondocking in Rock Springs. Yes, we will have a pump out truck available. There is a company that we can have those available for that. I don't know about if we're going to be able to have a water truck come in and replenish you with water. We haven't got that far on the boondocking. But we're working out those details. Somebody else asked, how will sign up work? So currently right now, if you go to the events, the Rock Springs page, you will see a sign up for the wait list. You can put your information there. And then as soon as we get the boondocking organized, we'll be getting another sign up page out there to make that happen as well. What else are we missing, Christy?
Moving on down to talk about, somebody asked about the graph that Eric sent. Would that be posted to our website? You also mentioned answering surveys. I think the overriding question is where do members look back for information on this kind of stuff that we'll share tonight on the Campfire chat, but do we post it to our website or otherwise?
Let me take that offline. I think we probably can. I don't think there's anything confidential in that. Some of the data is going to be in my upcoming article in the Rouvray. So I think we can do something like that. Yeah, thank you. There are some questions I just need to touch on about big red numbers, about they used to be required international rallies. They're required on caravans, which I'll take for a fact. Caravans are very unique because caravans go for months sometimes at a time. They're going over long distances, and the big red numbers are really nice to identify an Airstream. They all kind of look alike, by the way, when you're trying to run a caravan. I got to tell you that. but they're definitely no longer required to go to anything else. They're not required to be international. They're not required to be in any rallies. We've dropped that with sort of requirements for wearing suit jackets and dinner attire at our rallies. We're a little bit more formal as a society nowadays than we were back then.
So I'm going to jump through a few of these. I think it was Jack. I'm sorry, my screen just moved. AI owner, don't see much participation. Actually, yeah, all interstate owners, any product manufactured by Airstream Inc. is part of our club. So whether you're an interstate owner, a trailer owner, an Atlas owner, any of those base camps, any of those are welcome within our club and welcome at our events. What's up with the flamingos? Everybody loves flamingos. I don't have the true history of that, but I know that has been around the club for forever. Big deal with the flamingos. Status on the fly fishing club. I believe there's a group working on that. I'm looking at you, Eric, if you can't tell.
One of the guys reached out to me about starting one. There's a lot of interest. I told him I want to be the number 2 on it. I love to fly fish too. So I think it's going to happen. I haven't heard anything in about a month of what the status is, though.
And then I see somebody mention about behind the move of 2024 on the rally, change in our normal time frame. That was something that was voted on. Feedback from again, surveys, as I mentioned early in this conversation, is so important. People answer our surveys. We had an outpouring cry of getting out of the hot months and finding other locations, and that's what had happened. So as we said before, regardless of what month we have a rally in, there's going to be a conflict. As much as we don't want to have conflicts, there's going to be a conflict, whether it's June and it's weddings and it's graduations, or whether it's football in the fall. So it's going to be continuous. But again, we're following what our members are asking us to pull together. So,
so on the flamingo, hang on a second. So Candy said that flamingos promote the swinging lifestyle. I didn't know that. I heard something about pineapples. If you put a pineapple out, it does. I haven't heard flamingos. But again, I'm from the West Coast, so I don't know. I don't think, Candy, that was the sort of the spirit behind it.
3 minutes left. Can you explain the amenity program?
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Who? You or I?
You.
So the Amenity program is a new program we just recently launched that's open to all of our members. And it's just basically a bunch of different types of discounts with it, whether you're traveling, movies, dinner. There's also within the app, there's our as in our special arrangements we've had with like Rio's Garage, Michelin, Harvest Host. All of those are within that app. So the goal of it is to give people an option to try to save some funds when you're out there traveling.
Okay, so Christy reminded us that we're getting up to to 5 o'clock Pacific. As I promised, we'll stay on and just answer residual questions for another half hour. But we'll try to finish now. I just want to close with some summary thoughts, and I want Lori to think about some also. You know, the club is really what we make. And I think you guys all know that, right? You know, we need our volunteers. I know all of us are busy, or most of us are busy with active lifestyles, but if you go to an event, a rally, ask if you can help. And even if it's as just greeting people or carrying things around, it would be greatly appreciated. Like a lot of things in life, you know, 90% of the work is done by 10% of the people. And we're going to be unable to sustain the amount of events we want to put on without very, very strong volunteer leadership at the local clubs. It doesn't have to be a big commitment. I think that I always tell people to be really clear on what you can commit to. If you only can commit to 2 hours helping out, tell someone that, and don't feel bad. They would appreciate that. But we really do need your help. The other thing I've said in my last blog or whatever it was is that, you know, do your best to reach out to people that you don't know that come to a rally. You know, they may be long time, they may be new people. I think all of us have been in a situation where we walk into a room, there's a whole bunch of people there of whom we know none. And it's just awkward. And when someone walks up to you and just shakes your hand or offers you a glass of wine or say, hey, my name is Eric. Where are you from? It makes a tremendous difference, much more to them than it does to you probably. So please take an opportunity to do that. Lori, any closing thoughts from you?
No, not really. I was sorry. I was reading some of these questions. I'd love to answer a few more.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So if anyone leaves now, we won't take your name down. I hope you all have enjoyed this. This is really fun. Lori and I love it. Christy, thank you for helping us with the backlog of questions. We had a hard time doing it ourselves. So we'll just kind of go through questions for another half hour. And
yeah, so I met Misty Roach. Actually, she said, how does courtesy parking work? This is such a great, and new members might want to know. And Misty, you're absolutely right. And I believe, again, this is another one of our untold or glorified things. So courtesy parking is folks who have extra space on their property, their farm, wherever. They will list themselves in the courtesy parking registry with us. So when that happens, if you're traveling across the country and you need to stop in Oklahoma and there's a great couple there that has some spots, you look at Oklahoma, you see where they are, you call them up and say, hey, I'm so-and-so in the Airstream Club. Can I park at your place? And so that's kind of the quick explanation of it, but absolutely, Misty. And that one of my goals this next year is to try to promote that just a little bit more and educate folks on our courtesy parking. I see Timothy West asked about golf rallies related to golf. No, but I can tell you, well, I don't want to say no. I'm not aware of any, but I am aware that a lot of rallies include golf, such as the International Rally. We always make sure we've been doing golf tournaments actually since about 2017. We've been consistently doing golf tournaments.
there was a question about why are rallies so expensive? That's a really interesting question. They go all over the map. Some rallies are no-cost rallies. Frankly, the Campfire one, which is officially starting in January 1st, but the pre-Campfire starts in about a week. That one is a no-cost rally. It's almost like Burning Man in some ways. You kind of bring your stuff and you share, and if you want to take advantage of them, you put some money down. But the rallies are typically, they pay for the parks. There's two components. One is paying for the parking area, the park you're camping in. The other one is to pay for whatever food might be provided. I think you probably know this, but RV parks are going up ridiculously high in a lot of places in the country. It used to be mid $20, and now it could be well over 100. So that's something that we have to absorb as well in the pricing. Go ahead, Larry.
So I see, Stephanie, you said you'd submitted regarding the upcoming surveys that we're going to be doing. It will not be to a club level detail. It will be more regionals, and we will be sharing those with our local clubs to give them some information in regards to that.
Affinity. I know you talked about Affinity.
Yes.
Interesting program. I will say I don't really take a lot of advantage of benefit programs, but we did. My wife and I saved $100 actually on the purchase of a Lomi a desktop or countertop food recycler. So it's really cool. So it helps. But other things it helps too. It's something we're trying. We're open to trying all kinds of things. One thing Affinity does have in it, though, it has all of our other pre-negotiated discounts. So they're all in one place now. I don't care if it's Michelin Tire or Harvest Host or Passport America, whatever. They're all in there. Garage. So they're all in that Affinity program. So it's one place, one stop, one shop to access all of our programs. We also have a discount with Airstream Supply Store Company for some brand, some subset of their gear, which is kind of nice too.
Yeah, I forgot. That's one of the biggest ones. I apologize for that one.
A question about a rally to Europe. Oh, I'm so excited this came up. Well, I hope Terry is still on, but can you talk about sort of Europe, Lori?
I'm sorry, I was reading questions. You guys
okay, I'll do this one.
I'm
so we haven't had an international rally. So first of all, there's a lot of things happening in Europe. There used to be about 60 members there, maybe a little bit less right now, but they do have a number of events there. And I don't have the URL in front of me right now, but they do have events in Europe. Some of them are just gorgeous, by the way. There's these castles in the background and moats and stuff, and it looks really phenomenal, fantastic food. We have a lot of events in Canada. I shouldn't say, of course, but it's so easier to get to. And we're also considering having international rally back up in Canada at some point in the near future. How's that for waffling? We want to do it. We're trying to find the right place to do it in Canada. We have a lot of our really fun members for both Eastern and Western Canada. And so we're trying to get back up there and do something up there. Let's see what else. We still have quite a few people online. Okay.
Me too. I'm not, I see Lori said, but they only offer discounts on specific things. It is thousands of things. So some of them are like item specific. Some of them are service specific. It's almost past my bedtime here. It's past 8 specific. So it is a wide range of discounts on Avinity. So get yourself logged in and take a look, and you will see the variety there. Direction.
Okay, I'm just typing some of these in there. Oh, George says a shout out to Richard Short. So Richard Short, a friend of ours, friend of mine, he was a region president, and Richard had an idea when it was probably 4 years ago or 5 years ago. We were in a meeting and Richard stood up and said, we need to have more member benefits. We're like, yeah, that sounds great.
We're in Las Vegas. Las Vegas is where we were at Midwinter in 2020.
And no one did anything. And probably a year later, Richard said it again and again. And finally, Richard Hamlet's going to do it. So I think if you look at the probably 10 or 12 specific individually negotiated benefits that we have, Richard's been responsible for most of them. So shout out to you, Richard. They're fantastic. Another example of a volunteer just saying, hey, I got an idea. I'd like to run it by y'all and let's see if we can make it happen. So thanks for the reminder, George, to give a shout out to Richard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I saw David Beals made a comment, and he's exactly right. And this is exactly what you said, Eric, is that the club is what you make it. So if you want to do something with your club, do it. Speak up, talk to your members, and make it happen. That is the lifeblood of this club. If you think about, we have 17 or almost 18,000 club members, and we have a paid staff of 6. And our goal is to help you maximize your experience in this club and enjoy your membership. And so we're just behind the scenes trying to keep it rolling, and you guys need to enjoy yourself, right? That's what it's all about. So make it happen out there.
Okay, Claudia asked the question about courtesy parking, where to find it. I'm not sure if it's a Claudia that I know, or maybe I know multiple Claudias, but I'm going to answer anyway. So hello, Claudia, whichever Claudia it is. So I'm logged into the website now, and you have to log in to get to this level. Ignore this stuff on top. That's something else. So under current members, if you scroll down to courtesy parking, it brings up a map. And so, for example, like we know, Laverne and I know, we're heading across this area shortly, and I wouldn't mind stopping over somewhere down here in Arizona. If you just scroll in, you can see that there's some people up here. And if you click on the link, oh, there's 2 there, actually. Interesting. So it shows who that person is. And then what I would do is I would email Steve.
Poor Steve.
Steve, we're rolling through your area in a couple of weeks. Can we swing by there? Right. And I guarantee you that Steve, if he's around, he would say, sure. And this is the thing about the courtesy parking. These are opt-ins. We don't ask people to do this. We say who wants to offer it. And every place I've stayed, the feedback has been, we wish more of our members would come by. It's a lovely thing to do also because, finding campgrounds can be tough nowadays when you're traveling. And just dropping into a club member's house overnight is a really nice way to do that. And it's just one night stays unless they offer you to stay longer. It's sort of like Harvest Host, but it's unique to our members. And we've done it. We call it moot stalking sometimes, where you stay in front of someone's house, and it's always a blast. It's one of my favorite ways of camping. So thank you for the question, Claudia.
Lori, could you explain for members that don't understand what affiliate membership is?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to touch on that. Then I am going to I want to talk about interclubs because that's another, we got hung up in that. So an affiliate membership is you can sign up with, okay, so your home club is Jackson Center. I'm just use that as an example. But there's also a club in Cleveland. So I want to affiliate with that club. That's not my home club, but I can still sign up to be part of their club, as in they will include you in their distribution of newsletters and information. So all of our clubs do it. I mean, so it's a great way to learn about another club. And the only restrictions as an affiliate, you can't run for office or vote for things within that club. Your home club is where you do your voting, your officers, things of that nature. So that's kind of the difference between a regular membership and affiliate.
Hey, Chrissy, I'm going to hand a question over to you. This is for Linda asked us questions about Newbies International and Stella's Sisters. Did you happen to see that one?
I wanted to
Okay,
talk
you
about
got
that for a second. First of all, Linda, thanks for bringing up that Stella Sisters is going to be organizing a caravan from Texas to Wyoming. And I wanted to bring that up to touch about interclubs. I don't think we've talked much about them this evening. And that's another area of our growth. And interclubs are more interest-based clubs. So we have classic, we have vintage, we have ham radio or amateur radio. We have, I'm always going to forget one because we have so many new ones. We have future streamers, we have boondockers, we have Stella Sisters, we have independent streamers, indie streamers, pride streamers. I feel like I'm forgetting one. Grapes and Grains. There we go. See, you guys made me forget one. So Grapes and Grains. All of these interclubs are interest-based. And it's very helpful for, again, to just network and learn about people. Grapes and Grains, I mean, they're focused on grapes and grains, right? They're wine and bourbon, whereas Stella Sisters, although the club is still open to everyone, it's for supporting of female towers. And of course, Stella, as we all know, is the bride of Wally. So interclubs is another part. You can find more information about each one of them on the website. So it's a super great way to learn about each other in the club.
Okay.
Can one of you, please,
Bill Wild.
real quickly?
Wait, first, Bill Wild. Hey, Bill Wild, haven't talked to you in a while. Bill Wild was past president of Region 6, assuming it's sorry, 3, assuming it's the same Bill Wild. Bill had also wanted to reinforce about courtesy parking. He said every time we ended up using it, they made new friends. There's no charge, but we always leave a small thank you. Thanks, Bill. Yeah, it is totally true. You always end up making new friends when you stay in their front yard or backyard. Thanks, Bill.
That was beautiful. I was just going to say, can somebody describe what the WBCCI Foundation is?
Go ahead, Lori.
Well, WBCCI Foundation actually is a separate sister company. So just as they are actually a 501c3, so they are a charity organization. I think I saw Denty on here, which he is actually one of their board members on here. So they it's basically an avenue for people to contribute through and for the foundation, where they are putting their efforts towards helping other organizations such as the national parks and some of the outdoor venues that we use, right, as campers, as travelers, as well as education and those in need is what that foundation is focused for. They have their own website, and you can jump on their website through ours. We have a link over there, and then you can learn more about them as well.
Okay, I got to do a shout out to VAC. I will hear about it later. So Ginny, my one of my favorites back there in Canton, Ohio, says VAC. So the Vintage Airstream Club, they bring the party, they really do. And historically at international rallies, they have a big, huge tent. And they have a couple of dances. I think it's a 90s or 80s dance in Rock Springs. Are there 2 going on? Which one is it? Does one of y'all know? Anyway, it's a dance. It's going to be fun. So
80s and country.
Western. Yeah.
80s and country.
all right,
That's what they're
right,
doing.
right. So yeah, so at these international rallies, we try to make it fun. The whole idea is that when you come onto the site, there's no club meetings like you used to have in the old days. It's all about fun. And so when you come onto the site, we're going to have activities for how to maintain your trailer, learn about your trailer. There'll be seminars. Grapes and Grains is putting out a really fun show this year for the first time. And the Vintage Airstream Club, their traditional tents and dances and funs. And I know that Stella Sisters is going to do some things as well as indie streamers and just general fun. So there'll be a lot of activities for the National Rally. And if you haven't gone on, go on the wait list, like I mentioned.
Yeah, so following up, thanks, Dinty. I see he posted their website. It's wbccifoundation.org. If you guys can see that in the chat, that is a beautiful site. I know Dinty built that site, but you can learn all your good stuff over there. Hey, Abe, I see you there. How many dry camping sites will be open? I don't want anybody to hold me to it, but I think we're going to be able to get 100. Don't it's almost say, because you know, Larry, we'll make it happen as best as we can. And yes, actually, we do have a pump truck that we can get in there. Again, my only concern right now is whether or not we'll be able to have fresh water brought in for those folks or not.
And I was just going to add to back to Dendy's Foundation. They just sent out an email that talked about Amazon Smile. And so if you sign up using the link in that email, so you shop at smile.amazon.com, and then you select the WBCCI Foundation as your charity, then you just log in through that special link, and then you shop the same products, the same process that you normally do via Amazon or Amazon Prime. And then they donate a percentage of eligible product back to the foundation.
Fantastic. I see, anonymous attendee. I sure wish we knew who you were so we could say hey to you, but the next Campfire chat, I believe, is in March. 3 months out. And yes, you can ask questions when we send the invite out. There's a link also to submit questions prior to, and you can always do that online as well. We have those forms to ask questions that we can definitely get answers to.
I think we're running out of questions. We didn't talk about the new leadership process.
Well, let me answer this rally question because I feel like rally is the core of our group, right? I mean, it brings people together. That's what this club is about, the love of their Airstream and bringing people together. So national rallies versus local rallies. The difference is local rallies, and it just depends on your local club. Of course, we have some clubs that have 20 people, and we have some clubs that have over 300 people. It just depends on your club. But a national rally, we actually have a committee that helps these national rallies. Again, they're normally interest focused. The can opener, which is down in the Panhandle of Florida. We have the Rose Parade, which happens during the Rose Parade. We have the Story Time national rally. So a lot of them are centered around another event that's going on close by. And like the nice thing about the national rally, for example, the Rose Parade, all the details are worked out for you. You get there, you already have a spot on where to go to watch the parade. The Grapes and Grains, when they do their rallies and these different things, again, they're very organized for you. So I think that's the best way to describe the difference between national and local. I don't know if Eric, you want to throw anything in there?
I think it's about it, really. I think a lot of our members don't really care. For us, it's just sort of how we sort of try to organize them.
Yeah.
And the national thing, as I said, it's really a big deal for us to get more of those around. We only have 13. We used to have quite a bit more than that in past days, and we need to get those back up again because they really do provide opportunities for people who can't go to national rallies, don't want to go to one that big, but want to get a taste of something outside of their home state or home province. So yeah.
Okay.
Question or a comment about a lot of maintenance tips that can be found on Facebook or online. And what does the club do to help with, are there maintenance rallies? Have we thought about delivering, maintenance help to our members?
Yes, we have. Again, it's one of those things that it's usually one of the most appreciated topics for people who go to rallies, even for people who have had their rigs for a longer time. Out here in Region 12, California, Nevada, at the region rally, I think 2 years ago. Well, they always have a Airstream representative there. The regions typically do, and they put on some demos. One of the ones that was put on, it was how to change your tire, and it was specifically done by a fairly petite lady, although she was probably stronger than me, it turns out. And she showed how, hey, you don't have to be some big football guy to change a tire on the road. And she talked through the tools you need. There's only a handful of tools. And she had people come and try it, like how to get another trailer and get the spare out. It's just really nice. People really appreciate that. I know that in International Rally, often Indie Streamers puts on a backup class. For how to back up, both for women, single towers, and also just for people in general. So there's a lot of really good things on how to maintain your trailer on the East Coast, on the in the colder climates, the Midwest. How to winterize your trailer is a hot topic. How to run your solar and your lithium, and how many things can you run on that stuff is a big topic out here. A lot of areas people wishing to boondock. So we're trying to get more things like that, and I think you'll see more of that coming as we hopefully develop more of our partnership with Airstream and expand into more rallies or events we do together.
I'm going to try to run through about 3 of these. I see someone asked about Albuquerque Balloon Fest. That is actually hosted by Region 11, is who the host is, and that is considered one of our national rallies. Lindsay, I see you there. She is one of the great organizers of Can Opener. And thank you for pointing it out that if you have any ideas on the ACI website, you can submit some ideas for a national rally. Again, there's a great group that'll help you put that together. What is the ACI's role in caravans, club rallies, and inter-club rallies? Well, all of those caravans, club rallies, and inter-club rallies are organized by volunteers. So the role that we as an ACI or the international HQ, whatever you want to, basically, we're just there to support. If they need, we'll give them a certificate of insurance if they need it. If they need help organizing or developing a logo or things of that nature, we help connect the dots. But outside of that, all of that is organized by our local clubs and volunteers that just doing an absolute amazing job making that stuff happen. Eric?
Yeah, I'm just looking at some more comments.
How about, I don't think you guys talked about how registering for the wait list is going to work.
Yeah, so actually there is a sign up right now. If you go to the 2023 Rock Springs website on the registration page, you'll see the note that we are sold out and a wait list, and you click that form and you fill it out. And if you're not able to or don't want to do it that way, you can call the office and then they can also put you on the wait list.
And the status for boondocking?
After the first of the year, we'll get all that information out. And Christy, you will put a lovely email together out. So pay attention to your emails that's going to go out to those that are not registered.
Okay, so we have 8 more minutes. I think we've got most of these, I think. And I'm sorry I didn't talk more about the caravans. I was talking with John Becker, who's their caravan chair. He helps organize the caravans or kind of. I talked to him a couple of days ago, and he's probably going to come on one of these campfire chats. If for some of our members, that's what they want to do. They want a caravan. They may not even go to a lot of local clubs. They want a caravan. They're fantastic opportunities just to go out. John was telling me that there are caravans that are open. I think one is up in the Blue Ridge Mountains. I'm not sure if it's smidge of there or something of the Blue Ridge, and it's a fairly short caravan close to where a lot of people live, and it's a great introduction. So check on the website under that events. You can filter for caravans. But they're highly, highly appreciated. We price them, I would say, under market, frankly, so lower than you have to pay if you went outside to get one. And they're fantastic opportunities to have a sort of a curated trip through some areas. It's just that there's a wait list, and one of the things that John Becker is looking at is that how do we get more caravans available to our members? Well, guess what? That means more volunteers to run the caravans, looking also a little bit more aggressively at third-party caravans that are done by another company. We have some of those to Mexico. We've done some in Europe. One of our members in Texas just did an experiment with one in Europe. Apparently it was phenomenal, albeit expensive, but it was great. So we're trying to do more of those things too for caravans.
So last two questions, one for Lori, what does our insurance cover? And then different tone, one for Eric, and you'll love it. Are there enough people or interest in electric vehicles, vehicle tow vehicle for having like a rally?
Oh.
Well, okay,
Go ahead, Lori.
wait. Okay, so I'll do the insurance real quick. So basically, the club has a general liability insurance policy that covers any official WB ACI event. And when I say any event, that means an event that everybody in the club is invited to. So it's publicly announced. It's not like just 4 people are going to go camp someplace. So the general liability basically covers any neglect on our part. So if Bob and Joe back their trailers into each other, that's not our issue. But if Bob was setting up a speaker and a microphone and he strung out an extension cord and didn't mark that as a trip hazard and somebody tripped over and gets hurt, that's what our insurance is going to cover. So that's basically my short term or short explanation of our insurance coverage.
Okay, can I talk about electric vehicles?
Yes, talk electric vehicles.
So okay, I'm getting excited. I'm sitting up. So my wife and I, we live in California. So California EVs are very popular. We have an Audi EV, love it. A lot of Teslas out here. I want a Rivian for my birthday, but that's the truck or F-150 Lightning. There is some interest, yes. In fact, I've been contacted by a couple of people about starting an interest group, which is smaller than, it's one of the things we have for groups for electric vehicles. There are problems, right? But often the ones that we see out here in California, at least, are nice, like Basecamp 20X, which is or 16, which are the smaller Airstreams, towed by a Rivian or F-150 Lightning. And they get about 300 miles, as I understand it. Because the trailers are fairly lightweight, they can disconnect and go pull up to a charger and reconnect again. But it's an increasing of interest. And I think if you follow EVs, you know that Tesla introduced that new delivery truck, which has like a 500-mile range, I believe it is, with huge cargo weight. So I think it is coming. It's a fairly small thing, but if anyone's interested, just reach out to me directly and I'll try to find out who else was interested in starting one. I think it's quite interesting. So there you go. That and fly fishing and all my other little fun things.
You'll see Eric going fly fishing in his electric vehicle, but that's okay, right? That's okay, exactly what'll happen. So Eric did mention that we did not get on the topic. So here in the next week or so, you're going to be seeing an email that comes out and talking about our leadership recruitment process for those who are interested in volunteering for the club. That's scheduled to go out next week if all goes well. What else is happening next couple of days? Tomorrow, you're going to I think it's tomorrow. You're also going to see an email coming out from us. This is the survey Eric mentioned in the last email that we are doing in collaboration with Airstream Inc. For anybody who completely fills out that survey, you can have a chance to get entered in a drawing to get a $500 gift card from the Airstream Supply Company that they're going to supply. So again, please fill out the surveys. I know it'd be great to get the $500, but we really need that information and we want to hear from our members. So I can't stress that enough.
And Lori, a follow-up question was, will the survey results be parsed down to the club level to help us with planning?
It won't be to the club level, but it will be regional level that we should be able to get at least some regional trends shared with all of those in the club.
Well, I think we're getting to the end of the comments. So you could always tell when we have fun, and this has been very enjoyable. This is what our club is about, is talking to people, both people I don't know and people whose names I recognize. So thank you very much for attending. Have a happy rest of the year. travel safely, and we'll talk to you again in this venue in about 3 months.
Yep.
Thanks, Lori. Thanks, Christy, for
All right.
helping out. We appreciate it.